One, welcome to Steven Corporate Services and Steven Corporate Academy. So today we're going to be having our practical session from what we were taught yesterday. Now, looking back at yesterday, we looked at various things that has to do with companies startup, and we considered a lot of things. We talked about the processes that a startup would pass through before it can be registered properly in Nigeria. We talked about registration with CAC, we talked about registration with EFCC, we talked about registration with FIRS, and then we talked about also that with the bank when the corporate account or bank account is issued. Now, today we're going to be looking at the CAC portal itself. Yesterday, we explained that there are basic processes too that must be followed before a person can register a business or start up a business in CAC. And I said that the following processes is: one, the person has to be an agent or has to use the public interface or is registering as a corporate entity. So we are going to do the practicals of all this. In the meantime, we are looking at the areas that has to do with the interface of the dashboard. Looking at the new dashboard, a lot of things has been altered, a lot of things has been changed. So today I'll be showing us this dashboard and I'll be explaining how to use the dashboard. So once you are going to be logging in, you have to log in by going to your Google, then you click the ICRP, as you can see on the dashboard, icrp.cac.gov.ng. So when you click on login, you are going to see. So tonight we are going to be looking at the general interface to see what you are expected to know concerning the dashboard. Now, this is what is called digital corporate practice, because a lot of persons now use the AI tools and technological tools to utilize corporate practice, even the government. So a lot of times, if you're applying for things like trademark, if you're applying for copyrights, patents, and even applying for other forms of compliance check with the government, you have to go through these trainings. And you can see this is a proper way to log in. You have to be an agent, and if you have an agent user, it will be easier for you to navigate the website. And if you're not an agent, you have to log in as a public user or you log in as a corporate entity. And we'll be looking at that once we are done with this. So let's start with this. Now, when you log into the portal, you're going to be seeing this front before you. Here we have the objection for IT and LTD GTE. When you see IT, that is the short for Incorporated Trustee. We discussed this in our last class. So when you see the LTD and GTE, that is basically the short form of the Limited by Guarantee. That we also discussed that in our last class if you were following. Now, looking at this dashboard, we're going to be highlighting some things. When you look at help and support, it's basically the area that you see. You can make ask some questions and check for responses and all that. However, it's better to use the email support, not this website support, because the website support doesn't really work. Now, you also consider the frequently asked questions. So from here, you see questions that are frequently asked and already answers provided to them attached. So when you see this, it will guide you in order to resolve certain issues. Then you can also see the contact or the contact us. Now, when you click on this multiple line, this three multiple line by the left side of the screen, as you can see me clicking on it. So once you click on it, you realize that it will pop out certain things. So the first thing to pop out is the pre-incorporation and post-incorporation. So basically, when we talk about pre-incorporation, I want us to look at the screen. If you can see the screen, please. If you cannot see the screen, let me know. But if you can see the screen, I continue with the class immediately. So now, when you look at the screen, you are going to be seeing pre-incorporation, and you're also going to be seeing post-incorporation. So the pre-incorporation here, as you can see, is the first process that you must undergo for a startup before the startup can be officially registered. Now, the pre-incorporation comprises of the following: name reservations, name reservation requiring consent, as we already mentioned, names like IT or guarantee. Then we also have registrations, that is the proper registration after reservation. Like I said, there are three basic processes in the reservation. or the startup of a company, number one is the public search and name reservation. Then number two is the registration, where you upload the necessary documents, where you do the whole review of the forms that you are going to be filing, the documents, the ID of the directors and shareholders, or the proprietor of the business. So these are the processes that you have to pass through before you can successfully register. Like I said, the first is name reservation, the second is the upload of the whole documents and details in the registration, and lastly you get your documents, and that is it. So after registration has been done successfully, you can now proceed to the pre-incorporation. When you talk about post-incorporation, rather, post-incorporation basically has to do with the area of, probably you are already registered and you want to change certain features in your company. For instance, you want to change the company name, or you want to change the company address, or you even want to change the company objects. You want to change certain sensitive thing in the company. The best way to go about it is through post incorporation. So now, moving forward, we're not going to dwell on post incorporation today, because we plan to handle the basic aspects, and that includes pre incorporation. Now, moving forward, as you can see on the screen, the pre incorporation basically talks about the following, like I said: the name reservation, the name requiring consent, and the registrations. So today we are going to be looking at this interface, what it looks like, and what you can make out of it. So from here, we look at the name reservation. Once you click on the pre-incorporation, you're going to have the following pop out. That is name reservation, name requiring consent, and registration. Then when you click on the name reservation, this will pop out as well. You're going to see this name reservation. Now there are four different categories here. Number one, we have the not submitted applications, we have the pending applications, we have the queried applications, we have the approved applications. From here you can see that all these have various functions and its use. So for the non-submitted application, these are applications that you probably might have started but you did not finish, and in did not finish here, it basically means you were not able to complete the payment of the name you are about to reserve. So those applications that payment has not been completed for, when you have done the name search and it has been approved, or when you have done a particular application but you've not paid for it, the name will be moved to not submitted application, and then after payment it will be moved to pending application before CAC can finally consider it for registration. So upon approval, the name will be given an availability code. That availability code is what shows that your name is now registered. The process for registration has now been commenced in CAC, and therefore nobody else will be able to use the name, exactly the name as it is, except you maybe cancel the registration or the name expires after 60 days. So once the name is pending, it will remain in pending until it is either approved or it is queried. Now, if the name is queried or approved, you can then proceed to the next thing. If the name is queried, you are going to have to resolve the query before you proceed to the next thing. So it's most likely very easy to resolve the query in the new dashboard, because it's going to happen before the application is approved, before the name is even pending. The core issue with the AI and everything, the rejection will take place even before the approval, before the pending application. So if the name is rejected, there won't be any need for query. So here we're moving to the next phase, where we now have the approved application. So after you've seen the approved application, you just scroll down. When you scroll down here, you would see the actions you can take. For instance, these companies have been approved. We can see here, go to business registration, view details, delete AV code. It means you can now delete the business name or company name that has been reserved. In the previous dashboard, you cannot delete it. Once you reserve the name, it will remain reserved for 60 days. Even when there is an issue, maybe you want to change something or you don't want the name anymore, you cannot delete it until after 60 days. But however, thank God for the improvements in the new dashboard. You can now delete a name. Probably during registration you made a mistake, maybe added S or you didn't add S, and then you decided to change that. You can easily do that by deleting the AV code. So basically, once the AV code has been deleted, then it means the business name, the business reservation is no longer existing. So having shown you this, the next thing is to, once you are done with the whole registration, you are going to see a different interface where you can download the certificates. I'm going to show you that very briefly. So but that will be in registration. But as you can see here, we have the list of every business that has been approved and not submitted. So like I said, just take a look at it again. When you click go to business registration, when we start the registration process itself, I'll be showing you how to do this: register a company, register a business, and all the necessities. So but for here, you have to see the action button. When you click the action button, you will then be able to click on the go to business registration or view details, probably the details of the business that you have already uploaded, or delete it, as I've explained that you can delete a reservation that has been made. Unlike previously, this feature wasn't on the portal. Then you can download the receipt for the name reservation which you have made. So that is that for this. So when you come down, we're done with this now. If you want to now do the registration or the reservation of a name, this is where you come to. You come to this place that is written new reservation. On this place with new reservation, once you click it, you'll be able to do the reservation of the name. So once you click on this now, I won't click it because we're not looking at reservation today, but as you can see this, once you click it, it will take you to another portal, another side of the portal, or another interface of the portal. So from there you can now begin to do the name reservation, whether it's a business name or a company. Everything starts here. So you see this and you are able to move to the name reservation, but we're not going there now just yet. So once you are done with the name reservation, you can also check name requiring consent. Like I told you earlier, name requiring consent simply means that the name falls under the category of an incorporated trustee or a company limited by guarantee. And this company limited by guarantee basically are those companies that requires the consent of the AG, and they also can they are not created for the sake of business, but they can make profit for the sake of the objects of which they are being created for. So now when you look at these things that I've said, if you are going to apply for consent, you come here and you still apply for consent. So it has the same interface. You click here. If you have not paid for the reservation you're about to make, you click the continue the application and you take you to the interface where you can make your payments. Then also when you come here, you begin to see the you can apply for change of name. You can also apply for use of similar name here in the application for consent. Like you can see here, this is a business name that wants to probably register a similar business name, so you add use of restricted words because you cannot use an existing name except that existing name has given you consent. The owner of the existing name has given you consent to use the business. So that is where you can now use of restricted word, or it cannot be other restricted words like the use of group or the use of government or the use of a region or a state or a country. So once the government approve that, it means that you can register a business with that. So a lot of people want to register a group of business and they find out that if they are about to commence restriction, they will face some restriction. The reason why they face this restriction is because you cannot register a business except the business you cannot register a business with group except the consent of the governor or the government or the president or the AG, whoever is giving the consent. But according to the CAMA, it is the AG that gives the consent. There is the consent given by AG and there's also the consent given by the Registrar General. The Registrar General is the person in charge of approving all certificates. So once you see a business certificate, you are going to see that signed by so Registrar General. So it means that the consents and all is handled by the Registrar General or the Attorney General. The Attorney General is with respect to guarantee strictly. The Attorney General cannot give consent on other entities apart from the guarantee, registration of guarantee. And I told you already that guarantees are used for entities like a private institution or a higher institution like College of Education or IMT, any of those registration that borders on private entities and it's a higher institution, it's mostly guaranteed because that is the new law. So you need the AG to approve it. And let me tell you for free, if you're going to be registering a college of education in Nigeria or probably any form of private entity, and you are focused on a particular specialized area, for instance, you are saying you're registering something like College of Health and Science Education or School of Health and Science Education, you are going to be needing the Ministry of Health approval. You're also going to be needing the technical body or technical board of Nigeria approval, which has its headquarters at Katsina. So we have different requirements for different businesses, but that is just by the way. When you come into this place now, you're going to see this action box here for the one that has been approved. you can now go to registration, and once you click go to registration, you can commence the registration of it. Remember that this is also name reservation. It's after you are done with the name reservation, that is when you can now move to what we call the registration. So when you come here now, we're going to see the box of registration. So this, the name reservation, name requiring consent, they are both categories required under name reservation. So the name requiring consent and name reservations, they are both required under name reservation depending on the business or entity you are registering. So let's move to the last but not the least, the registrations. So when you click on it to take you down here, you can see these registrations. So here we still have the same interface: not submitted application, pending application, queried applications, and approved applications. When you come to not submitted applications, you are going to see that you have not made the payment for the business. For instance, you have filled up all the details, you are done uploading all the documents, and what's left for you is to make payments. You are going to see it here. You will be seeing all the all the applications that have not been submitted. Once you make payment, it will move to pending application, and the pending application means that you have already successfully uploaded all the necessary documents, you have also followed all the necessary instructions, and you have now made payment. So after that, you move to either it's queried or it's approved. When it's queried, you simply have to follow the instruction of the queried application. We're going to set a day where we look at how to handle queried applications, and when it is necessary that you send in applications to the help desk and also the SPU mail for further follow up by people, the agents in CAC. So here now, when you see the queried application, you just follow the instructions and do the necessary thing. Once you are done with that, it will move to approved application. So once you come to approved application, one of the things you notice here is that you have the permission to now download the certificate. So in your approved application, you can now see that you can now see the category where you can now download the certificate. Let's check that now. Approved applications. So I just clicked it now. So you come here. This is view application, download receipt, download certificate, download status report, download memos. One of the things you must know is that a company must come with 3 certificates. Number 1, it will come with the certificate of incorporation, showing the name of the business, showing the housing number if it's a company, or the BN number, that is business name, housing registered company if it's a business name. Then once that is done, you're going to also see the status report. The status report is a document that shows you the complete details of all the individuals who are registered as the owners of the business. They could be shareholders, numbers of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or more, depending on the entity that is being registered. Now, they could also be a business name with just 1 person or 2 in terms of a partnership, but it should not exceed 2. So now the whole details of the status report, during our practical classes, when we're looking at the business name and in detail, was going to consider the contents of this status report and all that. I've had issues before when I downloaded the receipt of this certificate. When I downloaded the certificate and the status report, I saw some mistakes on it. So I had to follow certain instructions and reach out certain persons inside CAC through the help desk and also through the customer line in order to resolve the issue. So we're going to look at how to resolve issues eventually as a separate class. So here now, once you look into the document, you have to consider everything carefully to be sure that there is no mistake. You have to also know that a document would only be valid for 7 days, after which you will now pay the exact fee for registration before you can reprint. For instance, now when you're going to be registering these entities, if you're registering a business name on the dashboard, you have to pay a minimum amount of 10 to 11,000 naira to register the business name. But once 7 days elapse and you have been unable to print your certificate, you'll be required to pay an additional fee of 10,000 naira to reprint the certificate. So it's always good that you follow your work and you're always knowing when the work is ready and when it is still in progress. So that is so that you don't waste your client's money and you also don't waste your own money. So once you are done with that, you download the memat. If it's a company will only have memats and status report and certificates, while a business name will only have the certificate and the status report, excluding the memat. It's only the company that is required to have a memat. I believe that we are taking note of all this so that when a client asks you what are the documents that would be required in having in registering a company, what are the documents that will be issued by the government, you tell them that it's a certificate of incorporation, a status report, and a memat. So looking at this now, I believe we have been able to do justice to this. So yeah, that is it for this now. So let's quickly move to the final part of this live stream before we check out. So, like I said, this is an agent dashboard, and it's easier to use this because I mean you have everything organized, and you can always have multiple work, multiple job when you have an agent dashboard, and you're not just disorganized, and you're not just using public interface with the whole interference it will face. So let's quickly look at the um, public interface. So now this is the general platform before logging in. If you want to log in, you just come here, enter the username, enter the password, and log in. That's if you're an agent. However, if you are not an agent, there are different ways you can log in or you can sign up. So what you need to do is to come to sign up. So when you get to sign up, you're going to see three different ways you can do this. So you can create, from what they said here, you can create a new portal, or you can create a new portal account, or find and continue unsubmitted or create application for accredited agents or insolvency practitioner. So what it means is that if you are creating a new portal account, you can do so in the following ways. Create a new account. So we have three following ways here: either as a public user, as an accredited agent, or as an entity account. If you are going to be registering as an entity account, it means that you are already registered, and those corporate entities that are already registered can do their post corporation now. This is a new feature. Before, the general public is not permitted to do their post corporation by themselves. They need an agent to do it. But now with this new interface, we can just log in directly to your interface, to your CAC business interface, and see your company and do whatever you need to do in the entity account. So let me write it to show you what to say. So it says that companies, business names, and equity trustee, it means you must have been registered before you can use this feature, can now apply to the Commission for the creation of electronic accounts for their entities. For instance, now, your annual returns, or change of directors, or change of address, whatever you want to do, you can now do it yourself here without an agent. However, the challenge in this is that the entity account is not yet functioning properly, and if you really are not an expert, you have a lot of issues, and you spend more money than you would have spent paying an agent. But if you can pass through this class and get the basic knowledge you need to get, you can do this yourself without any limitation. So look at what they say here. The account would allow the entities to submit the documents and statutory returns to commission by electronic means. So to create an entity account, simply download the application form, complete it accurately, sign and submit it to the commission. You only have access to post incorporation services as an entity account user. So take note of that. So what it means basically is that it's only for registered companies, and you can only do post corporation once you have registered. Now when we come here to the public user here is for those who are members of the public and they do not have an agent dashboard. They don't have an agent pin, or they're not an accredited agent. So what they can do here is that any member of the public can create a user account to register entities for themselves. So it means that you can register your business yourself if you understand how to do it, if you're an expert. I'm sure you'll be wondering, why am I sharing this secret with you? Why don't I just, is it not going to be bad for my business? Or what if? But the truth is that it's not everybody that wants to pass through the stress of registering a business. I know someone that wanted to register a business, a company, and then he was asking me questions and questions and questions because he has not done it before. But he sees that he can do it by himself and decided to just take it up. Eventually, I had to consider him and share the valuable information with him because he was a friend. So but then you may not have that privilege to have someone who will be willing to tell you these things for free. That's why it's good that you understand what you are doing, follow the course, understand it, and you can now do these things even yourself for your own company if you want to. So now we have the following: that during registration, you'll be required to act as a director, trustee, or proprietor or partner, depending on the type of entity that you're registering. So please ensure that all information you are providing is accurate and complete. You only have access to pre-incorporation service as a public user. So what it means basically is that here you will be required to act as a director, a trustee. So it means that if you are creating this public user, you must be made a member of the company. So that is why it's always easier when you are creating for yourself. If you are doing it for others, let's say you are doing it as a professional and you are charging clients, you cannot use a public user because you are not a member of the company. It means you have to put your own details to the company, and the owner of the company may not want that. They want just their partners or just those that they are doing business with to be there. Meanwhile, if you are using an accredited agent user, you don't need to put in your own details. You don't need your own particulars to be there before you can register. But that is only the short side of a public user. You must use your detail in the registration. So therefore, it's only restricted to owners of business who want to register it themselves, and not for those who want to use it as a means of offering service to other people who may not know about this. But if you are going to be doing this, look at the way you can do it. You can register as an accredited agent. Now, from the recognized persons who should be able to use the dashboard, they are the lawyers. Either you're a lawyer. To be a lawyer, it means that you've gone to the university and you studied law, and you've also finished from the law school, and you've been called to the Nigeria bar, and you have been enrolled to the Supreme Court. So these are the process for a lawyer, you know. Then you must have become an accountant as well, a chartered accountant, not just an accountant. So chartered means that you've gone through the 4 years of investing and you have your ICANN. You are now chartered. And the same thing with a secretary. There's also a professional exam that secretaries, administrators must also write before they can qualify as a chartered secretary. Then with this, you can now progress and proceed to register with CAC. However, there's also a way you can become an agent even without being a lawyer, without being an accountant or a chartered accountant, or without being a chartered secretary or an administrator. And that is by using the details of the lawyers or the chartered accountants or the administrators. Now, by the end of these trainings, when we are done with these trainings, Steven Corporate Services will be able to provide you with the following tools to be an agent. So that is one thing that we're standing in for. We're bridging the gap between those who are not lawyers, those who are not accountants, those who are not secretaries, but want to be an agent, and probably have a group of community or a group of persons who wants to register with them and are ready to offer this service, and they've gone through this training. We are in a position to offer you with the qualities and also the access to this portal through our agents, our own accredited agent pin. However, in order to do that, we'll come to an agreement because of the privacy of the informations contained there. So lastly, um like I said, lastly, once you are done with this, you can now come in and log in, and you can log in through different ways. You can log in with your username and password. You can log in with your email and password. You can even log in with your phone number, registered phone number and password. You can even log in with your accredited number and password. And once you log in, a you're going to be sent an email, and that email has a code that will enable you to put it in here. And once you're done with that, you submit the code, and then you can move to the next portal, which we have just finished with. So once again, thank you so much everyone for joining today's class. I believe that this class was impactful, and then we would like you to know that we have more in store for you. We really have a lot that we would like to do in order to enable you have more opportunity out there with respect to corporate practice, emphasis on the digital corporate practice. Thank you so much once again for being part of this, and have a wonderful day. See you in the next class.